For reasons I shall explain shortly, on Christmas morning I woke up and suddenly decided I want to do a video about my top 5 games of this decade. I wanted to commemorate this decade while there's still time to do so, and there has been quite a few games I've played, especially recently, that's really meant something to me, and I really want to express my appreciation for them before the decade is out. So, here's my top 5 games of the 2010s. Number 5 is appropriately Grand Theft Auto 5. I felt this game deserved to be number 5 because personally I consider it even to this day to be the most advanced game ever created. Some would argue that the purpose of a game is to allow people to do things they would not be able to do in reality, well, without getting arrested at least. And I think Grand Theft Auto, by creating such a realistic world environment for us to do whatever we want in, is the epitome of this idea. I remember playing San Andreas on the PlayStation 2 back in the day and thinking how absolutely amazing it would be to have a Grand Theft Auto with multiple players in one world. To create such an expansive and realistic single player world would be astonishing, but they've made it online, I think with like 30 players in one world at a time. To me at least, aside from being an incredible game, it's one of the most impressive feats of engineering, at least in its domain, that humanity has ever accomplished. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be in charge of Grand Theft Auto right now because I really wouldn't even know where to begin to try to top it. Number 4 is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Again, please keep in mind that these are just my personal opinion of what games were my personal favourites of the past decade. Actually, I must say, the order I've put these games in is pretty irrelevant except for number 1. The first 4 that I'm saying could actually be in any order, I just had to put them in a order. So I've put Assassin's Creed Syndicate at number 4 because I've been a long time fan, I guess, of the Assassin's Creed series, but not really of the series itself, more of what the games are about. I'm sort of weird because I tend to play Assassin's Creed games because I like the history of them, and as a result, if a specific game is set in a historical period that I'm not interested in, then I probably won't play it. I haven't really played the Renaissance ones, but I've heard they're really good, the French Revolution one, nor the ones since the Syndicate, simply because I'm not interested in the time period. But even as I played Assassin's Creed 3 of the American Revolution era, I've always thought Victorian London would be the perfect place to set one of these games, and they hinted at it in Assassin's Creed 4, and then eventually they finally did it with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I remember as originally going to be called Assassin's Creed Victory. And I simply think that they did an absolutely terrific job of replicating Victorian London. It's genuinely beautiful, and I love the little Easter eggs and things they put in to enhance the atmosphere, like how if you're climbing on the rooftops around Westminster, sometimes it'll play Land of Hope and Glory or something. It really adds to it. They really managed to capture the stereotypical Victorian feel to it, but also showcased its utter beauty that most depictions of the era don't do. Also, the game's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but set in Victorian London, but you get a Batman grappler, so that can't be bad. So that's why Assassin's Creed Syndicate is my personal number 4. Number 3 is Battlefield 1. World War I is again one of my favourite eras, but moreover, I appreciate how creative DICE were in making a Battlefield game set in this period, and the creativity they displayed in showing this era, considering they could have just gone with World War II like everyone else, but instead they decided to innovate and do something no one else had done. What I love about it is that it feels like World War I. They did a spectacular job of showing front and centre the stereotypical things you associate with the era, like the land ships and the Zeppelins, while also putting in so many things that aren't so well known. Moreover, the gameplay is superb. Every match is just so brilliant and can go any way and be so exciting. Every map is unique and different and has a new feel to it, and it's really terrific. I think I played this game for 10 months straight when I first got it, only stopping when I finally got Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I've spent a long time playing Battlefield 1, even to the point of completing the Peacekeeper Easter egg. If you don't know what DICE's Easter eggs are like, you don't know how dedicated you have to be to get that. It took me about 14 hours of gameplay to get a Peacekeeper, which is probably pretty slow, but even if you're quick, it still takes a while. My number 2 game of the decade, appropriately, is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Now this is probably the closest thing I have to a controversial choice for many reasons, so please let me clarify that this is number 2 probably mainly for nostalgic reasons. You see, I got Black Ops 2 just after getting a PlayStation 3. For the first time, my first experience playing console online was playing this game with my friends from high school. I guess that doesn't seem like anything to people now because online play is just standard, but back then to me it was amazing. And this sounds really stupid, but it was probably one of the best times of my life, and nothing I ever do would be able to come close to it in the same way. It was such a unique, brilliant experience. To have close high school friends for years and then suddenly to be enjoying your hobby with them is incredible. It's ironic really, because now I actually really dislike playing with people, but one of the best periods of my life was playing Black Ops 2 with my high school friends. As for the game itself, without that nostalgia or whatever you might call it, I'm not certain, but I think it would still be my favourite Call of Duty game because I felt it was incredibly creative with what it did. I liked how your actions in the game affected the story. I remember watching a video of it behind the scenes or something, and they said that normally in a game if you fail a mission you just start it over, but in this game if you fail a mission that simply becomes part of the story, and I love that. I think that's really creative, and I didn't know that when I first played it, and it's a shame they didn't try that sort of creativity in Call of Duty games after this. The multiplayer was nice and smooth, the gameplay was excellent, and yeah, it was just simply a great Call of Duty game. It means a lot to me and was the pinnacle of my multiplayer gaming experience, a point I'm quite sure I'll never reach again. Without that factor, while I think it would still be considered my favourite Call of Duty game, I'm not so certain it would have made this list, and maybe I shouldn't put it on here because of that. But this isn't me saying what I think were the best games ever made in the 2010s. This is simply me saying what games gave me the best gaming experiences this decade. Games that mean something to me, my favourite games of the 2010s. Which brings me on to my number one game, which I'm sure some would think is kind of obvious by now because I couldn't resist using what I think is a beautiful screenshot I took of it as the thumbnail. My favourite game of the 2010s is The Last of Us. Well, technically The Last of Us Remastered, as that's the version I actually played. Even though it originally came out in 2013, I only first played it literally 2 months ago when it became free on PlayStation Plus. But it's always been a game since even before it was released that I've wanted to play. I remember seeing it on gaming shows when it was in development and thinking, yeah, this game looks great, I have to play this. So it's always been one of the very few games in my mind throughout the years. I'm not someone who keeps looking for different games to play, I know what I like, and when I finally got a PlayStation 4, there were really only 3 games that I kept in mind to get, which were Battlefield 1, Assassin's Creed Syndicate and The Last of Us, all of which I slowly picked up in that order. But honestly, the reason I'm doing this video is generally just because I wanted to talk about The Last of Us. It took me about a week and 20 minutes or so exactly to finish The Last of Us, and I enjoyed every second of it, but it truly did more than that. It was an experience like I've never had with a game. I knew it while playing it, and even now I still experience it. Even just thinking about the main menu music sends shivers down my spine right now. It's an incredibly powerful game, to the point that I woke up on Christmas morning dreaming about it, and ever since I finished it in October I've wanted to make a video about it, but I was like, how can I justify doing a video about this game? There's nothing logical to say about it that hasn't been said 1,000 times before. Everyone knows it's good. I attempted to come up with an idea and do something before October ended, but it didn't work out, so I just thought, well, never mind. Then, as I was laying in bed on Christmas morning having dreamt of this game not for the first time, felt I have to do a video about this game, and then I realised, hey, the decade's literally ending in a week, why don't I just do a list of my personal favourite games of 2010s? The games that truly meant the most to me. Because I knew The Last of Us was definitely number one. All the previous contenders honestly could be in any order, but The Last of Us is number one and that's all that mattered to me. So genuinely, that's how good this game is. I made a top 5 list just so I could talk about this one. Now I'll actually talk about the game itself. The characterisation in this game is supreme, to the point that they could have just made the entire game the 2 main characters walking about abandoned cities talking to each other, and I still would have played it and loved it completely. The game looks utterly incredible, the dialogue is amazing, the design is beautiful, the story is fantastic. I absolutely adore The Last of Us. I don't think I've ever said that I've adored a game before, but I think that basically sums up what I feel about this game. I know it sounds quite weird, but I don't know how else to put it really. I generally can't express enough how much I love this game and what it means to me. It's just amazing. I've never played a game like it, I probably never will again, but I don't think I really need to, because The Last of Us has had such a massive impact on me. I love it. I only regret slightly that I was unable to play it when it first came out in 2013, because I would have been close to the age of the girl Ellie, and I do wonder what perspective that would have given me of the game, so that's a shame, but only a slight shame. My playthrough of it 2 months ago was magical, an extraordinary, tremendous time in my life, because I enjoyed playing and experiencing The Last of Us so much. I really can't express enough what it means to me, but I'm glad I was at least able to give it a go. My favourite game of the 2010s is The Last of Us.